Hey, it's Trisha. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I have my spoiler-free review for Before the Devil Breaks You by Liva Bray. For those of you who do not know, Before the Devil Breaks You is the third book in the Diviners series, and it picks up just shortly after the second book, The Lair of Dreams. In this book, we get to follow the characters that we met in Book 1, The Diviners, and Book 2, Lair of Dreams, as reports of ghosts and possessions start popping up across the city. But most prominently, they are coming from the mental institution on Ward's Island. With all of these reports happening, the Diviners band together to face the ghosts that are inhabiting Ward's Island, and in doing so, they come face to face with the King of Crows himself. With this shocking encounter, many secrets are revealed, and the Diviners then start demanding answers and explanations for all of the powers that they have come into. The story then goes on from there to touch base with many different plot lines which have started in Book 1 or Book 2, and we further get answers as we follow them throughout their journey. First, I'm going to talk about the world building. In this one, we are getting further development on the world that was already established in Book 1 and Book 2. So a lot of the world building has already taken place by this point in the story. However, we are getting much deeper backstory, and we're finally coming into answers that were hinted at in books 1 and 2, and so with that, the world is expanding. So we're expanding into this kind of realm where the King of Crows lives, the dream realm, and all of that. So we get the world building that was already established with 1920s New York and everything that's going on there, but now the world has expanded in order to include this sort of afterlife paranormal realm as well. The world building is just as creepy and atmospheric as the first two books. There is a lot of painstaking detail put into this story that really helps the reader imagine vividly what is going on, so you can really see the setting and all that comes along with it. For the characters, we've already got a pretty concrete cast of characters this far into the story. However, we are getting much deeper into who they are as individuals. We're getting to see them change and grow, and we're getting to see layers to each of these characters, which is really helping flesh out who they are in the overall scheme of things. And as the story progresses, I feel like I'm becoming more and more attached to these characters, that especially Evie. Evie was one of those polarizing characters for a lot of people in Book 1, and I will defend her to the death because I feel like she is such a relatable character for me. She's not perfect, but a lot of people didn't see that, and they saw a lot of fault in who she was in the beginning, that she was just really selfish and so unlikable. However, for me, I saw that she was unlikable in a realistic way, but she was still a good person at her core. And as the series has progressed, we have seen that yes, she really cares about her friends, she cares about her uncle, she cares about all of the people that are now involved in this situation. And yes, she may not do things that are the best choice in the moment. You can really see that she has a lot of heart there. So I feel like we're getting more concrete characters, and characters that are really consistent with which has been set up from Book 1. That there's not, what I like is that there's no flippy-flopness with their characters. They're definitive, we know who they are, and we're digging in deeper into that rather than having them change in unrealistic ways. So for the plot on this one, the plot in each book in the series so far has had a book plot, like for this particular story, that gives us little hints and bits and pieces to the overarching plot for the entire series. This particular book has less of the plot that is standing just for this particular book, and it's mostly about what we're finding out with the overarching plot line. And I love that we are finally starting to get some answers here. We are also getting to understand the involvement of a lot of characters that were involved with Project Buffalo or the Department of the Paranormal, like Will and Mr. Marlowe and the Shadow Men, and we're getting more answers as to how they are involved with the backstory for how the diviners came to be. So like I said, throughout this, there are quite a few different plots running throughout this particular book, things that have been touched on just briefly in the previous books, but are really now starting to weave together and really become part of the bigger plot, and how that is going to affect the outcome of everything. And I feel like Libba Bray does a fantastic job with keeping all of the storylines straight, making it very clear what is going on at all times, and then weaving these plot lines together in a way that really shows that this is just one big world, and that the world doesn't just stop when they don't have a paranormal thing to fight against, that they have everyday lives that are going on all the time in the background, and that they are being affected by this and all of these little subplots that each character has, and how that affects them in the grand scheme of them figuring out how they got to where they are. The writing in this book is just as beautiful and atmospheric as it has been in the previous two novels. There was a little bit of pacing issues for me personally towards the middle of this book, and I don't know if that was necessarily due to pacing issues in the writing, in the storyline in this, or if it was because during the middle of this book I actually hit a reading slump due to outside factors. So I'm not really sure one way or another what caused the pacing issues in this for me. For this particular book, there are some trigger warnings that I would like to include for rape, attempted sexual assault, for abusive relationships, and racism. There is prejudice towards people of color, immigrants, people with disabilities, and same-sex relationships. And these are all prejudices that are portrayed accurately to the time period at which the book was written. So it is a reflection of the 1920s in New York. Just like the other two books in this series, I absolutely love this. I feel like Libba Bray has grown so much as a writer since I started enjoying her books with the Gemma Doyle trilogy, and I feel like she has found something that she's really fantastic at writing about some spooky, historical, paranormal sort of works. And she is doing so good with this series. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. I 100% cannot wait for the next book in the series. If you are looking for a book to pick up, a series to pick up that has spooky dealings, has a little bit of magic type stuff to it, is historical and very accurately portrayed with an incredibly diverse cast of main characters, I highly recommend you pick up the Diviners series. All right, so that is it for my spoiler-free review for Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. Let me know in the comments down below, have you read this book? What did you think about it? And if you have not already done so, now is the perfect time. Click that little subscribe button down below if you want to see more content from me in the future. And if you want to find me elsewhere on the interwebs, I have all of my social media links in the description box down below. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!